Well, howdy folks, and welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. What I'm going to be showing you today is how to take care of wooden cutting boards. Now, I have an advantage when it comes to really knowing how to take care of a cutting board. It's because of my regular job, okay? I don't do YouTube full time. I don't cook full time. My regular occupation, I am a carpenter. In fact, I'm a master carpenter. So guys, for me, what we're about to do is as easy as it gets. I'm going to teach you the proper way to take care of wooden cutting boards, the proper way to preserve your wooden cutting board, okay? And how to restore it if it's in bad condition. So let's go in the kitchen, let's take a look at those boards, and let's get busy taking care of wooden cutting boards. Come on, guys. Okay, guys. I had to go and get changed real quick because this is a little bit of a dirty mess. It's kind of dusty, so I went and got on some old grubby clothes, some work clothes that I have. Now, as I mentioned to you, I'm a carpenter. This is what I do for a living, guys, and I'm darn good at it, okay? So this is the stuff that we're going to use. You're going to need 4 separate tools. And I'm going to say this. If you shelled out enough money for some nice wood cutting boards, then the $30 in tool and materials needed to take care of that cutting board should not seem like too much. And 30 bucks worth of stuff to take care of cutting boards will take care of them for years, okay? So what you're gonna need, let me show you first. Mineral oil. The right stuff to treat your wood cutting boards with is mineral oil, okay? Let's keep it simple. If you use vegetable oil, such as something that you cook with, or olive oil, the problem that you run into with those things, guys, with vegetable-based products, they have a tendency to spoil. They go rancid, all right? And they go rancid whether they have been soaked into wood or whether they're sitting in a cabinet, all right? They go bad either way. And if you've soaked your cutting board with that, and your cutting board has a foul smell to it because it's had vegetable oils or something like that in it for a long time, then your cutting board, one of a couple things has to give on it. It may end up being thrown away, but there is some salvation, and let me tell you what you can do. First, scrub it heavily, repeatedly, with lots of detergents, okay? Work it out of that wood as much as possible. If that's not doing the trick, see if there is a wood company where you live, maybe a cabinet maker or somebody that has a drum sander, large belt sander, that they can run that through. There's a place here in Dallas that sells hardwoods, but they also have an attached shop. And sometimes I avail myself of their services because they have machinery that I don't have immediately available. And one of the items I have is this massive 36-inch wide bed belt sander that is a large machine that can just run a cutting board through, and it makes it very smooth, just the same way a planer would do. So you can get them restored that way sometimes. But if they've got a foul odor, smell that board, then you may be in for trouble on that board. Now, a board will get cuts in it, guys, and that's the problem. We have to get those cuts out of the board. This one, I don't know if you can see it on there, but this board has cuts all over it, real fine little cuts all over it. And I've got to get this out and sand it out. Now you might be thinking, well, I don't want to have to buy the big old sander and stuff like that. Okay, you don't have to. So don't be afraid of this. Let me show you what you do. This is a simple $20 tool. In fact, I think I paid $19.95 for it. Okay, this is what they call a palm sander. Very easy to use, okay? All it does is just vibrate sandpaper for you, which means you don't really have to do any work. You just pass it over the surface of the board. It does the work. Very inexpensive. It's a small tool, so it stores easily, okay? It doesn't take much space. You'll need to get 2 different kinds of sandpaper. You're going to need a medium grit and you're going to need a fine grit. And the reason I'm saying that you only need medium and not coarse grit sandpapers can take a heavy toll on a cutting board. You might want to be careful because all of the scratches they put in it take a lot of time with medium grit to remove. I usually start with medium grit, and if it doesn't remove something, I will do spot sanding with a heavier grit, but it rarely ever happens. So what I'm using today is going to be 150 grit aluminum oxide and a 220 grit aluminum oxide paper. When it comes to your papers, don't buy a lot of them. Just a small package of one of those two sizes. You can be like 120 to 150 grit, somewhere in there, and in the 200 range, like 220 on up, but no higher than like a 280 grit, because you don't want it to get too fine. All right. Now, these sandpapers, when you're sanding these boards down, these are inexpensive. You can purchase a more expensive paper, but they won't be needed. All right. And the cheaper papers like garnet paper and glass paper, they really don't hold up very well, especially on a cutting board, which is a hardwood. All right. So we need something that's a good quality paper without breaking the bank, and that would be the aluminum oxide. Works very well. So mineral oil, aluminum oxide paper, a sander, and a roll of paper towels. Those are the 4 items that you need to restore your beat up, god-awful looking cutting boards. So let's get busy with sanding these things down. Now I'll show you how to tear the paper and how to get your sander loaded. Come on over this way, guys. Okay guys, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of this board care. When it comes to your palm sander, number 1, don't break the bank on your palm sander. Buy a cheap one, okay? You don't need expensive palm sanders. They all do exactly the same thing. It's an orbital action, meaning in very tiny movements, it makes this little rotation like this, very fine, very fast, like it's vibrating. And it sands beautifully. These are wonderful machines. But the truth of the matter is, a $60 palm sander performs virtually no better than a $20 palm sander, because they're both doing identical things. Get the cheap one, and the bottoms of it, and this is important, very, very important. This is called the shoe, the base of the palm sander. This is your shoe. Make sure that shoe is a square one, okay? If you buy a round shoed palm sander, then you are, from then on, going to be stuck purchasing the sandpaper manufactured for that one sander. That's a proprietary sander. So meaning that you have to buy proprietary sandpaper to fit it. Other round brands won't work, and you can't buy sheets like this. This is the inexpensive way that carpenters use. We do it to save a lot of money, and it works. These sheets are quartered to fit that. So you will know when they manufacture this type of paper, let me fold this, they manufacture this in such a way that it's designed to be torn, okay? So if you notice, I crease it tight. And I'll fold it again. So if you notice, I folded it twice, once across each other. Now I'm going to reverse that. Fold it like that once, and like that once. So as you can see, sorry, I didn't get that. I'll do it again with this one. As you can see, very simple to do this. Now to tear the paper, this is easy enough. Just start your initial break and put the paper flat. And then with a twisting motion, pull. The paper is designed to tear that way, guys. It's made by the manufacturer that way. So that people like me, when we're out on the field and we're busy working, we don't have to waste time getting our paper to fit our sander. Preparing your sandpaper is that easy. Now 2 sheets of this sandpaper will be enough for me to work these 4 cutting boards. I've got 4 cutting boards right here that I'm going to work out today. This is not going to take me a long time either. I'm going to spend maybe, oh gosh, I would say somewhere around 5 to 8 minutes per board sanding it out. Sanding with the coarser paper, which is this 150 grit, and then we'll do the finer paper at 220. And I'll do all of the boards in order, you know, just going through them all. Do both sides of them, And that way they are ready to go. Once you're finished with this, you guys are going to be absolutely shocked at the difference in these cutting boards, because there's a lot of damage on these boards. There's a lot of scratches and scrapes and cuts and scuffs all over them, and these have got to be dealt with. So let's get on with it. Now, to load up your sander, these all work a little differently between brands, but they're generally the same. Usually there's some sort of a lever or button or something like that on the side that controls holding that paper in place. On this one, it's just a little wire on each side, little lever, and then that paper slips out from under it. Now what you're seeing there is sawdust from the last time I was using this. Good, that's 150. Now, I've learned over time the easy way to do this is start with the back side of this. I slip the paper under there, and I simply set the shoe down, just like that, and that pulls this lever up and tightens this. So then you can hook it up. Then I wrap this around and tuck it up under the other side, like this. Isn't that nice? Whoops. Now normally I do this with it propped against my body, and I find that a lot easier. But once I get it up, I hold it in place and do what I did before. Set the shoe down and then just connect the other side. It's ready to go at that point. A lot of these sanders, guys, will come with a little bag or a container that fits on the back. And that is designed to actually suck up the sawdust, or the sanding dust rather. It won't get it all, but it'll get a huge portion of it. So I'll put mine on there, and it'll come with a little plate like this. And what that does is it opens up the vacuum holes that are on the shoe so that they will suck up the sawdust. There we go. It's ready to go. Let's get busy sanding. Okay guys, I decided to do a close-up shot to show these little scratches that are all over the outside surface of this board. They're quite noticeable, and that's what we're taking out right now, okay? So I'm out here, outdoors, got my palm sander, and you just let it do the work and move it back and forth, but move it lengthwise with the grain like this, all right? Now don't be afraid of this. You're not actually damaging your wood. You're not doing it any harm at all. You're actually helping it. It'll come out just fine. But what you want to look for is those scratches that are in it. They'll still be noticeable. They'll be darker than the lighter surface around them. So keep working it until you see those disappear. And when they're gone, then you move to your other sandpaper and smooth it out, which takes even less time, and you're done. This only takes a few minutes per board. Okay guys, I have finished up the sanding work. Now, did I get every single scratch and nick out of it? Heck no, I didn't. But you know what? It's restored, I would say, a good 70 to 80%. There are some deep in scratches and nicks and dents, and you know what? That's part of the characters, or the characteristic, of a wooden cutting board. You can keep sanding it until you get it perfect. That's up to you. But what I'm showing you is basic maintenance to keep them up and keep them nice so that they don't get nasty on you. Now, it looks kind of dull right now. It's time to protect it, to oil it. And at the same time, oh, wait till you see this. This oil is going to totally change the appearance of this board. So I'm just going to take that and start working it out. And I want to do one side so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. Wow, it's beautiful. And understand something, I didn't put a lot of sanding time in on this. The total time I did the sanding on this board, oh, I would say in the neighborhood maybe 4 to 6 minutes overall. And that's using both grits of sandpaper. So I didn't put a whole lot of time or work in it. And yet, it's looking much, much better. Now, there's some fine lines I can still see. And like I say, to me, that's the character of the board. When you're doing this, the pad you're using will pick up the color of the wood on the board, so don't be freaked out. It's not a dirty board. That's just the color of the sawdust that was still embedded in the wood that we just pulled out by oiling it. Isn't that gorgeous? There we go. This one was in very bad shape when I started on it. This is one of the ones I put in a little more time on. Look at that. Isn't that nice? How to easily restore your cutting board to usable, ready to go condition. Okay guys, this is the third cutting board I've been working on, and I wanted to show this last. This is a bamboo board, and sometime back when I was doing a review on cutting boards, I said I couldn't review the bamboo boards because, you know, the jury was still out. Now you're going to see some deep cuts still left in that, and that's because this board I have very intentionally abused. I went really, really hard on it. And it was to find out if bamboo was going to hold up for average cutting board use and needs. And what it would do, what it wouldn't do, what it looks like, what it ends up handling and acting like, and whether or not you can keep it looking worth a darn. Well, it looks like the appearance of it came out fine, except for where there's some really deep cuts, and you can see them here. That's very apparent. Most of the other cuts all came out, but those really deep ones, they just kind of stuck with it, didn't they? Look at that. But again, that's nothing that we really worry about. I do not know if you're supposed to oil bamboo or not. And this is also a part of that whole, you know, I'm finding out about it, I'm testing it. And I'm going to let you guys know what I feel about these bamboo boards soon enough. This one I purchased inexpensive, but I really wanted to see if they held up and acted and performed the same way that just standard old wood boards would do. Once these have had plenty of time to absorb their oil, and they don't need, you know, like an hour or anything, give them a good 4 or 5 minutes. That's all it takes. Wipe off any excess oil. And there it is, guys. That board is then ready to use again. And if you want to do this multiple times, you can. Multiple treatments is good. You might want to wait about an hour or two in between treating it, okay? Whenever you're doing this on wood, and this is something you need to be aware of, wood is a really, really dynamic product, okay? Meaning it expands and contracts and it bends and moves. It's dynamic, okay guys? It's not stable. So something you need to know about wood is if you fill up one side of that board with lots of oil and do nothing with the other side of the board, then it's going to end up curving outward, okay? And that's because the wood grain on one side of the board is expanding from the moisture it's soaking in, while the other side is getting nothing. So you have to balance moisture when you're doing this. So I'm going to do the other side. And that way it preserves the bottom and protects what I have. Well, there it is, guys. You've seen it. How we handle taking care of wooden boards. This is very important. Remember, those little scratches and nicks and things, those harbor bacteria. You need to get them out of there. And just by making them shallower, you can also make them easier to sanitize. When you do get down to really sanding, you might want to do a little bit better job than I did. I rushed it a little bit on this, but I wanted to show you how just a little bit of work, a little tiny bit of time, can take care of over a year's worth of damage on a board. So guys, please give your boards a little bit of time. You spend a lot of money on those things, so you deserve to take care of them. And if you do, if you take good care of them, they will honestly give you decades of service, okay? Just give them a sanding once a year, keep them good and clean and sanitary, treat them with the mineral oil, and your cutting boards are ready to go. Hey guys, I would like to say thank you very much for watching this show. To my subscribers, guys, I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you so very much for that. for my people that write in on a regular basis. I really appreciate you. Your encouragement has been great. It's been very helpful to me and it kept me going. So I'll tell you what, if you would, please subscribe if you haven't already. Please share my videos, click the like button. That helps me out a whole lot, especially in the ratings. And if you would, one other last thing, just please have a good day. Bye-bye.